Namaskar, Adab, Sat Sri Akal, and very good morning. Actually, good afternoon for all of you because most of you are in India. For all of you to joining me on this session this morning on Facebook Live. A very warm welcome from London to all boys and girls and wonderful scholars of the United Group of Institutions in Greater Noida and Allahabad. First of all, I would like to thank Mona Puri, CEO of your college, for inviting me to do this session. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to the founders of United Group of Institutions in Greater Noida and Allahabad, our Gulati family, who have been an inspiration to many Allahabadis like me and many others, and have made a very positive impact on my personal life because I have known them since my childhood, and they were always around me and around us in the growing up days, and left a massive impact not only to me, but on the city itself, which in those days when I was growing up used to be a relatively much smaller city. I would also like to thank them because it's because of them. At one point, my name also featured on the advisory board of the very first engineering college, which United Group launched in Naini in Allahabad many years ago. So, greetings and thank yous out of the way. Let's begin. Just so that everybody is familiar, students who do it on a regular basis probably know, but there may be more people joining. So I think the format which I have been told for this session is we have about 30 minutes of time. I will try and speak for the first 25 minutes or so, and then all of you will have the opportunity to ask me questions. What I would encourage is please make a note of your questions through the session if you have any. And in the end, we will engage and I will try and answer as many questions as possible, obviously time permitting. I'm delighted to do this talk and help the younger generation and students of this college by sharing my thoughts and my experience. I believe it's not just a privilege, it's also a responsibility of every individual like myself who is very fortunate enough to be in a position where one can make an impact on others, especially the younger generation, which is the future and the generation next. And we should share our knowledge and journey with them to help them. So, with that, I guess best would be if I start with my own journey a little bit so that all of you are familiar. By the way, if all of you are wondering what is this, because some of you may have seen a lovely face on my LinkedIn profile or the lovely message which was sent out for marketing purposes by United Group, this is my COVID look. So I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but just so that you know it's the same person talking. On a more serious note, talking about my journey now, where it started, I think the best is if I skip my pre-adulthood part because that's full of very embarrassing stories actually. So nothing to be very proud of. Actually, you know what? I'll give you a few because I think that will set the tone. It's always good to start with a bit of humor, and even if people get to laugh at my expense, it's okay. So let's put it this way: that growing up, I was not the best of scholars in my own family. It sounds very respectful when you say these things in English that I was not a best scholar in the family because शुद्ध हिंदी में बोले तो actually नालायक बोलते हैं उसको. But on a more serious note, it was not limited to the academic side of the personality only, which is what I would like to stress upon when I'm talking to you guys for the next 20-25 minutes. Our personalities have too many facets. The academic part is just one part of it. Although I may not have been a very keen student or the best of scholar, as I said, but I was a very quick learner. I had many other skills which I realized very early on. I was a very quick learner. I had some very good other life skills. You'll be amazed. I started driving at the age of 11. Don't talk about license. We'll keep that quiet. I was socially very active. Thoroughly enjoyed talking to people, loved interacting with people right from the very early age. I was a very keen sports person and very good at it. Played cricket all the way through in my school, my college, represented my university also. And even after I moved to England, I carried on playing, and I actually played for a club in England. What I realized through all of this very early on is that we all have multiple dimensions to our personalities. So if we have one or two things we are not very good at, it's okay. It's fine. Life is too large to forgive some of these things. But there are many other strengths we all have. It's just a matter of self-realization, trying to introspect and find what those are. So it's okay if there are few things in your personality, or while you're grappling through your school, college, and university days, if you're not good at certain things, it's okay. It'll be perfectly fine. In bigger picture of life, later on, when we look back at these things, you realize that actually it's okay, and some of these things don't even matter as much. And what I realized much later in my life was that some of these other skills which I had actually were played a very, very important role in building my own character and the person I am. So, just moving on from there, I wanted to avoid the childhood part, but I guess it's good to give a reason for people to smile sometimes. Actually, every time I talk about it, it makes me also smile, which is good. Finished my education, got my bachelor's degree in arts with economic philosophy and political science. Went on to do a diploma in marketing and business administration. And I was ready to take off, ready for the next step. And most of us who come from humble beginnings, from the mediocre middle class families in India, it's all about looking for a job. That is what you study for. That's what the education is supposed to do. Not entirely sure if I subscribe to that idea now, after having seen that part, and now that I'm working for last almost 30 odd years. But yes, in those days, you just do what you're told, and obviously your parents, your well-wishers, they are the guiding force. So you just listen to them and get on with it. So yeah, job was the next big thing on the agenda. Uh, by the way, these were the times, I've already said that it was a long time ago, and these were the times when in India, if you wanted to do a job, government job was the aspiration, you know, because of the security, because of stability. Everybody aspired to get into a decent government job, because private industry wasn't as developed, and private industry was considered as very risky, volatile, not so reliable, and prospects weren't that great when I was growing up. So I wouldn't blame my parents or my well wishers for that. I think that was the norm in those days, and you just go with the flow. Uh, and it was not a matter of choice, but I unfortunately, or fortunately, I would say now in hindsight, could not find a decent government job, and settled for a small private company, which offered me a great opportunity. Uh, and as I said, ज़्यादा choice था नहीं उस समय. Couldn't get a government job which would have been a top priority. Uh, and to be honest with you, and now I can say this very confidently, government job actually never excited me either, because I'd seen so many people around me doing all of that. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's just a matter of personal choice. As long as you know what suits you, as long as you know what you think you're comfortable with, uh, everything is equally good. Be it private, be it government, what you do, what industry you choose. It's all about what you feel comfortable with. And these things, sometimes come later on with confidence, with experience. So, as I said, I went with the flow. And at that stage, I think that's the best thing to do. Just trust your instinct, trust your well wishes, trust your parents. They are the ones who are the best, who want the best for you. So sometimes at that age, it's good to listen to them, and just go with the flow, as I said. So I started in a small private sector company. Started as a furniture selling salesman, actually. It might sound a little funny, but yeah, in those days, it was almost like a door knocking salesman's job, where I was not door knocking houses, but I was door knocking offices. So, I would pick up a street or a part of the town and just literally door knock on every office which existed on that street. It was great fun, and my biggest excitement in those days, more than the job, was as soon as I got into a job, my parents had promised me that I could then buy a motorcycle. 22-year-old kid getting a motorbike in those days, Yamaha RX 100, I still remember very vividly, was a great perk to have, to be honest with you. And as I said, every morning I would actually get up more excited to get a ride on my new bike. And of course, by the way, I also did the job riding that. So it was great fun. Um, and I was never worried about, some people making those odd comments around you, and some of your aunties and some of your social friends will go and say something to your mom to say, "Arey, government job, acha hota hai." And quite frankly, even if the parents did, it never deterred me even for a minute. And I couldn't bother any less, to be honest. But what excited me, besides my motorcycle ride, was actually the prospect of the challenging work environment, the fast track growth prospect of the private industry, and those were the kind of things which they always excited me. And what may have started purely as an excitement because I was very young, you're not worldly wise at that age, and eventually I realized that somewhere, unknowingly, unwillingly, I had found my core. I had found what suited me the best, and what I was most comfortable with, and I'm glad I did. uh, as they say, good beginning is half done. And I think I was very fortunate that that is what happened with me. As soon as I landed a first job, within a year, it led to building my own network of people. When I used to go all around, I would go and you know uh, look for more opportunities because I build more contacts, build you know uh, develop new relationships with people, and it helped me, and that network eventually led to more opportunities, and I started switching jobs more frequently. Within first couple of years, I just jumped. My salary was tripled. My job profile was far better. I was working for a far better reputed company. I don't mind sharing the name also now. I may have started with a small furniture selling company, but my next job was Asian Paints, which is one of India's best organized company, and has been for many many years. Even today, they are regarded as one of the best employers, and one of the most sought after companies on business schools and campus interviews. So, and that was another thing which I would like to share, that I was never shy or scared of moving industry, changing trade. So, started as a furniture selling salesman, moved to selling paints, which was heavily rural marketing driven kind of business. Traveling to villages, going to the most remotest of towns, traveling on the bus stop, sometimes sleeping on the railway platforms. Did all of that. I've been there, done it, enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. And then eventually, my next destination was actually selling investments. And then finally, uh, in 1996, by accident, I got into media. So, the diversity was starting from selling furniture, to going on to selling paints, to selling investments, and eventually into media. And what I mean by accident is actually it's one of my ex bosses from the previous company who headhunted me and gave me a call to say, come, I've got some exciting opportunity for you. Still young, always looking for those enterprising opportunities. Naive as I was in those days, didn't ask many questions, didn't even bother checking what it was. Just went to his office. He made an offer. I accepted. And after accepting the offer, I actually asked him, so what am I supposed to do? Because I was so excited about this prospect. And the name of the company was ZTV, which was the first private satellite broadcaster in India in those days. had already been in existence a couple of years before that. So I knew about it, and it was a big thing on television screen, a very refreshing change after many many years of Doordarshan. So the prospect of working for a media company, working for something which was on television, entertainment, all of these were very exciting terms in those days, and that's where it all started and came again. So nothing comes easy. As much as I was excited with all these things, and in my previous jobs, all I did was Allahabad, Kanpur, Ghaziabad. These are the kind of places I worked at. But somewhere that inner desire was that I have to find something to move to a bigger city. And in those days, the opportunity hub was either Delhi or Mumbai, as it's called now, Bombay in those days. And always dreamed of saying, someday I want to move. Someday, if I have to grow up the ladder, I need to get to one of these bigger cities. So in my head, I had already assumed that the headquarter of the channel is in Mumbai. So I would probably get to realize another step and get there. And then my boss drops a bombshell on me saying, oh, by the way, you're going to be moving to Calcutta and setting up the eastern region. I was, a little disappointed, a little taken aback for a minute, because everybody from the central part of the country or south, they either headed north to Delhi or to west in Mumbai, because, as I said, these were the places full of opportunities. But hey, you know what? Doesn't matter. I thought, what? If this is a stepping stone, so be it. So I gladly accepted. Moved to Calcutta, not realizing what was in store waiting for me there. As I said, people didn't know about the media industry as much as we know today. And unfortunately, in those days, there was no internet, there was no Google, so not much information available. And the fact that it was a new industry, obviously nobody knew anything. So even the friends or the relatives, nobody could help you, because most of them didn't even know about what this company does, or in terms of job, what working for a media company means, because that was the first of its kind in India in those days. So and as the environment around me was, when I spoke to many people, actually didn't like that idea. They thought it was a bad move. I was making a mistake. Going into an industry which is totally unknown, moving to Calcutta, which is not the most sought after place where people go when they're looking for career progression. So to cut the long story short, land up in Calcutta, another surprise waiting for me. So my job is to actually go and set up distribution, deal with the cable operators in Bihar, West Bengal, and Assam. So cable operators, not going to elaborate much on that, but says a lot. We all know how that industry is, how that segment is. And here I was. I had accepted the challenge. I had accepted the opportunity. So I actually was left with no choice but to go out and do it. And I did. I was the first person to join and then set up the entire office, hired a team, battalion of people, and off we go. It was almost like being on the battlefield. So job profile, exciting, prospect, exciting, and as I said, that led to the next opportunity. And although I may have been a little disappointed at the beginning that I didn't get a chance to move to Delhi or Bombay, but next destination waiting in store for me was London. So I actually skipped the hub in India and moved straight to London. And here I am. It's been 22 years now. In these 2 decades, I have built a lot of businesses around the world, went on to launch many new channels for different media companies. And in my current role today, as you may have already seen in my introduction, I head up international business for Sony, based out of London. And I've been here. So what made this journey possible? Some luck, determination to succeed, and a lot of hard work. But above all, there was always a dream. And this is what is going to lead to our topic, Dare to Dream. And what was my dream? My dream was evolving, because as a young 20 plus year old professional, who hasn't seen the world yet, you don't know much. So you just go with the flow. You just start off what comes your way. And sort of, my dream has actually changed. So if I can split, there were three stages to how my dreams evolved and changed. So in the first stage of my dream was actually to make my parents proud. Because, when I was growing up, somehow being the youngest sibling in the family, I always grew up with this thing that I had to prove myself, that, elders always get all the credit, and I was not given due credit. All bullshit, but I'm sure a lot of you can relate to all these things, because these are the kind of thoughts which cross your mind when you're growing up. And so it happened to me as well. So that was my first dream. No matter what job I did, no matter what the profile was, my agenda and my dream in life was that I have to make my parents proud. I have to make them happy. And I think I did that very well. I hope my parents will vouch for that. And I wish they were listening to this today. I will definitely share the recording with my mom later on. And then, eventually my dream changed as I started growing in my career, as I started growing in my life, became a better human being, became a wiser person. And by this time, I was married. I had two lovely, beautiful girls who are grown up adults today. And then, the aspiration changed slightly to, do something which will inspire my kids. So then the next dream became that, I have to inspire my kids. I have to be somebody who they will look up to and will obviously be proud of. And then that brings me to the third stage, which I'm still living. And my dream now for last few years and for some time, is basically to say, what is my dream? I just want to leave the legacy where, everybody in my career who I have come in contact with, and who's had a chance to work with me, I want them to remember me as a contributor, as a leader which they enjoyed working with and they loved working for. So I guess I've spent enough time talking about me, myself, my story, and I think now we should come to the core subject. By the way, that was also my tactic to wait for more and more people to join. I'm a very seasoned marketing person, a typical sales guy. Knows how to get things going. So I hope a lot of people have joined by this time now, and I'm ready to actually start talking about the main subject, which is dare to dream. I dare all of you to dream. Why dare to dream? Why did I choose this subject when I got invited to do this session and have an audience with you guys? I thought this is very appropriate in the current environment, especially what is happening around us. There is so much anxiety, there is so much worry about the future, leading to lack of confidence, especially in the younger people, students who don't know what future holds for them. They don't even know whether they are ready for tomorrow and what tomorrow holds for them. And what should be a mindset for a student or a younger generation who's just ready to sort of take off. And I thought this will be very appropriate for me to sort of, touch on this subject. And by the way, it's not just you youngsters or students and scholars. Even some of the grown-ups are in the same boat at the moment. This current situation is a great leveler. No matter whether you live in a developed country or an undeveloped country, whether you have resources or you don't have resources, everybody is in the same boat. Everybody is as puzzled as you are. Unfortunately, no one has an answer, and nor do I. So I'm not going to make sort of any statement or say anything which is not right. So what to do as a student? What can one do? Do you have the right mindset? I'm sure this question crosses every student's mind. What is the right mindset? How can one keep herself or himself motivated through these challenging times and uncertainty we are surrounded with? So I was given 30 minutes. I think I've already spent some time of that talking about myself and building that sort of storyline to come to the subject. I'm not going to spend a lot more time making this into some sort of a Gyan session or a discourse. I don't think I'm even qualified to do that, to be honest. But what I'm going to try and do over the next 10-15 minutes is to try and share my own experiences, try and sort of, make them into some useful tips for you youngsters, and hope that, you'll benefit from that. So as I said, I finished my education a long time ago. I have been working for 30 years. So as much as I would like to sum up my experience in a capsule and give it to you, unfortunately, 30-minute session will not be possible. So I will just try and give you a little overview. Where it began for me, where it begins for everyone, or where does it actually begin? My belief, and a very strong one, and always has been, it actually all starts in our mind. It all starts in our head. Good thought, bad thought, confidence or lack of it, anxiety, worry, happiness, joy, frustration, gratification, everything. It all starts in your head first before it actually happens. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit more about, how a thought can actually lead to realization of some of these things. Some you want, some you don't wish for, but they still happen because you think about it. So your dream is actually part of it. Your future plan, your goal is nothing but just a thought. That's how it starts. It's just a small thought which triggers in your head, which leads to then formulating your dream. And that is then for us becomes a goal which we all want to pursue for the rest of our lives. So how does this happen? How does this trigger happen? How does this thought trigger in your head? When you see or hear something which is inspiring, like someone's success story, that can cause that trigger. You meet someone who becomes your role model, and that can be a trigger. Sometimes you come across someone you believe has achieved success, and you want to follow them, you want to be like them, and that triggers a thought in your head, which then leads to a dream. And there it begins. That's how it begins. So first things first, don't stop there. Always look out for that with an open mind. Just don't stop. When that trigger happens, when that thought comes to mind, let it brew, let it build in your head. Do something about it. Have faith in yourself. No matter how stupid it seems when you are 20 something year old, don't worry about it. You'll realize much later whether that was the right thing or wrong. So you will not be able to decide then. So why bother? Don't worry about it. Let it happen. As I said in my own story as well, sometimes it's good to go with the flow. Go with the flow, but have faith in yourself. Have confidence in yourself. That is very important. Having said that, also do allow some flexibility for your dreams. So when you set up something when you are 20 something old, everything in life will not go to plan. That's life. That's harsh reality of life. So as much as I would encourage you to set up a goal and a dream, leave some leeway, allow some flexibility, leave that little scope to take that little detour. That if you come to a speed bump, there is always a way to take us a little detour and still get to your ultimate goal. Okay, so always be prepared. There will be speed bumps. And don't get deterred by those. I've shared enough of my stories. Shocks I got when I was told I'm going to Calcutta and not to Bombay. Landing up with a dream media company job and then realizing, oh, I'm dealing with cable operators. And these things can be off-putting. But don't get deterred by these things. They'll all even out in the long run. How do you begin? How do you sort of inspire or motivate yourself to find that trigger, as I said, for that thought to happen? You have to create chances. How do you create those chances? Those chances can be created. There are many ways. You have to always figure out your own. You can always learn from some of the others by listening to sessions like these. This might give you a trigger. And you never know. Sometimes you might just see somebody on the road, or you might read a book and some story in a newspaper this morning. Anything can cause that trigger. So be vigilant. Always look out for those triggers. One way I would suggest you can instigate that trigger is draw up a list of your heroes. No matter who they are, sports, politics, business, tech, entertainment, arts, whichever is your field of interest. Just look out, draw up a list of your heroes, people who you enjoy looking up to, talking to, listening to. They are your heroes. Look for your heroes around you. Look which are the people who excite you. Okay. And that will increase chances of that trigger, that thought which will lead to your dream. Okay. While you're doing all of this, two main ingredients, and this I'm talking from my experience, it definitely worked for me. Different things work for different people, so by all means please do experiment. What I'm saying is not the gospel truth. What I'm saying is not the only Bible in the world, so please do look out for your own. And for me, and I would highly recommend those two things, is confidence and self-belief. Be confident of yourself. When you're young, there will be many things around you which will shake your confidence. And there will be a lot of people who will say things to deter your confidence. Be comfortable with your own self. Be confident of yourself. And when that trigger happens, when that thought comes to mind, which then helps you form that little belief, build on it. Have a lot of self-belief. Don't be shy of making mistake. It goes wrong, it goes wrong. That's okay. Not everything in life goes right. Okay. The only way you will learn, the only way you will grow is when something goes wrong. As a matter of fact, I say this to all my staff, all my teams, all the time. You actually only learn from mistakes because success only gives you false confidence because you believe that you've done it. And you don't realize the other factors which contributed to this because you always think, I have done it wrong. So it's okay to make mistakes. That will only help your path to success. That will only help your path to achieving your dreams. So it's okay to make mistakes. Be confident, have faith in yourself. That's the mool mantra. Okay. So as I said, it all starts with a thought. That is what helps you build your dream. And this is where now I'm going to share my sort of 4-step theory, my 4-step mantra, which I am a big advocate of. And first step of that 4-step theory is actually a thought which leads to your dream. So thought, hold on to that. It'll all start making sense by the time I tell you about step 4. So it all triggers with thought. That comes first. What happens next? Thought is actually what influences your actions. As Hindus, we've also heard about karma. Karma के बारे में इतना कुछ सुनते हैं हम लोग, all around us. So your karma is nothing but your actions, okay? And your actions are actually all influenced by your thought, because what you think is what you end up doing. So that's the connect. That what you think is what you do. Your thought is what helps you realize your dreams, okay? No matter how small or how big, because the smallest of thing to the biggest of idea, it all starts with one little thought in your head. So something as simple as lifting your finger, just think about it. There's a lot of biology, there's a lot of science to it. Your mind tells you to lift your hand on a finger and you do it. Your mind tells you get up and go, and 100 kgs, 80 kgs, 90 kgs of your weight starts to move. It all starts with a little thought in your head. And the same thing happens when the multi-million-dollar business ideas come through. It all starts with a simple thought in somebody's head. They feel confident about it. They have a self-belief for it, and they start to pursue that. So thought, remember that. Very, very important. That's the first step. And as I said, thought leads to actions, which is step 2. What happens after that? Your actions, and more consciously you practice more of them, is actually what becomes your habits. So you practice good things, you create good habits. You practice bad things, you create bad habits. What happens? The more you try, the more you consciously follow this mantra, the more habits you build. That is what leads to the next step, which is that is what builds your character. So thoughts influence your actions create your habits, and your habits will actually lead to your character. And your character is actually what will help you realize whatever you want to do in life. Mind my words, and I say this with some experience. Character is the biggest asset you will ever build in life. You will earn a lot of other things, fame, money, material things. They're motivating. They're as important in life because they can provide you a lot of comforts, and those things are important. I'm not saying that don't look at those things. It's always good to have that little side view on these things. Just like when you're driving, you've got a main vision, and then you also got the wing mirrors on your side. So keep the material things on the wing mirror. Once in a while, look back to see you're on the right track. But what really matters, as I said, your character is the most and the biggest asset you will build in your life. And this is what brings me to a slightly controversial statement, which is my step 4: destiny. You know, I leave it to all of you for your own interpretations. I will just share my interpretation of destiny. I have been challenged many a times on these things. Uh, the way I look at destiny is, I look at it like a timeline, I break it up in 2 stages. So destiny before you attain adulthood, and destiny after your adulthood. Because my personal philosophy and way of thinking is that whatever happens in stage 1, which is pre-adulthood, is the real destiny, because that is something which is somebody else's doing. You have no control over it. So starting from right from the beginning, when you're born, where you will be born, which part of the world, which parents will have you, you have no control over these things. You have no say. You like it or not, that's how somebody else decided it. Somebody else did it. Somebody else's influence came on it. And all of that is true all the way from birth to your early stages of growing up, till you really get to adulthood, and you're a grown up human being who's now capable of making their own choices and making their own decisions. And this is why I say stage 1 of destiny is what somebody else did it for you. Stage 2, what is nearly 3/4 of your life, is what you build after that. And that is the destiny which you can influence. You can change it, my friends, and I mean it. And I will tell you what happens and how. Going back to step 1, thought leads to actions. Actions become habit, habit to character, and your character is what will help you realize your dreams. And that is how people change their own destiny. And I have personally experienced it. It does work. So very quickly, oh, by the way, we are coming to an end of the session very soon. So I would encourage all of you to please start making note of your questions and start throwing them my way if you want me to answer any questions. And I hope everyone's doing that. Don't be shy. Don't be shy of asking a question. It might actually help you find your direction. You never know. That trigger might happen when I'm talking to you. You might find your dream by the end of this session. So please, encourage you to ask questions. Get set and ready for that very soon. So summarizing that, 4 steps, for whatever it's worth, just quickly repeating, for one last time: thought, actions, habits, character, dreams, destiny. That's how it flows. So I'm going to now, just end this session. And to be honest with you, all that what I have said in the last 20-25 minutes, a lot of that was observation, experience, personal sort of encounters in life. So dare to dream. That is what I would encourage every single one of you. And dream big. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. And right at the end, I think I've already been handed over a few questions, which I'm going to start talking about in a minute. But before that, all I want to say, guys, is, I spoke about thought and how mind plays a very important role. Let me spend 30 seconds talking about mind and body. So for you to have the right thought process, by the way, you have to have a very healthy body and very healthy mind. And mind you, what I just said, 2 things: body and mind both. One cannot do, one will not deliver. Healthy body is all about healthy habits, eating well, resting well, doing good things which help your body keep you energetic. So that's taking care of your body. Healthy mind is basically happy mind. Happy mind is the healthy mind, because happy mind always thinks good, always attracts happiness, only attracts positive things. So happy mind, happy body. That will help the right thought. And thought, step one, takes you to step four in the end. So स्वस्थ रहें, which is healthy body. व्यस्त रहें, which is keep yourself busy, because if you keep yourself busy, you're not leaving enough opportunity for your mind to actually attract any destructive thoughts or negative thoughts. So keep busy. Have hobbies. For every bit of spare time you have, cultivate hobbies so that there is no spare time at all. And in the end, mast rahe. Be happy, because happy mind always invites good thoughts. So स्वस्थ रहें, व्यस्त रहें, और मस्त रहें. That's my sign off for today. And on that note, I'm going to take some questions now. So the first question I have is from Mr. Nonit. Nonit, thank you for your question. And the question is, there are some private companies who give equal stability. How do you achieve that stability like a government job? So my friend Nonit, it's all in the head. No job gives you stability. Stability is here in your head. If you feel stable, you will be stable. Nobody else can provide you the security. So my philosophy is, be comfortable with yourself, be happy with what you're doing, do things which you like. Uh, you know, don't look for everything to be done by others in the job, no matter whether you're in a government job or a private job. Others can't do it. You have to do it yourself. How stable you feel, how comfortable you feel, how confident you feel, it's all about your own self. Others can help you. Some jobs can provide a little more comforts for you to help you do that. Some jobs may offer you more perks which make you more comfortable and make you believe that that is what is leading to stability, but it's all false. It can all disappear in no time. I mean, 3 months ago, nobody would have ever thought, in the best of jobs, the highest paid salaries, who may have thought that, yes, I'm now in the last leg of my career and I'm sorted. I have my plans. I will just make my last few millions in the next 5, 10 years and I'm sorted for life. All gone for a toss in the last 3 months. So there is nothing called that stability. That stability is of mind. So look for that. Moving on. I have another question from Sarvanan. Sarvanan, thank you for that question. What was your first win that made you confident you were doing the right thing? Okay, so what was that right thing, or what was that ting moment for me? Actually, just getting that my first job, which helped me get my first motorbike. That was my first trigger. That was my first right thing. And trust me, these are the kind of little things which lead to bigger things, because it's a vicious cycle, guys. You're happy, you will always be thinking right. You're thinking right, it always leads to happy moments. Happy moments, you will always be more constructive. Constructive thoughts will always keep you on the right path, and that's how it goes. Okay, so learn to achieve that gratification from smaller things. Don't defer your gratification. Don't leave it till the end. Don't set up when you're thinking, when you're setting up your dreams. Do not make a plan like, when I become a CEO, I will be happy, and that will be the right thing for me to do, and then I'll feel that I've won something and I've achieved something. Don't think that, once I have the best house I want to afford, once I achieve that, I will win. That's not how it works, because you'll realize that all of these materialistic goals, they keep moving. As soon as you get it, no matter how big your goal is, as soon as you get it, it becomes a thing of the past. Now your mind tells you, what next? You wanted a bike, you've got it. What next? You wanted a car, you've got it. What next? Now you want a bigger car, a better car, more luxury. What next? So these kind of material things will never help you achieve that win which you're looking for, Saravanan. Because as soon as you hit that first goalpost, it'll become thing of the past. And then you'll keep deferring your sense of achievement, your gratification, your achievement to the next goal. And that's a never ending cycle. It never ends. It goes on. All right. Next question. Yogesh Kumar, how do you face it when others talk about my failure? My friend Yogesh, I touched upon this. The only way you are going to learn, the only way you're going to become better human being is if you learn to embrace your failures. Don't be shy of being a failure. Don't shy away from making mistakes. Everybody has done it. As I said, if you want to find some solace, some comfort, read up. Anybody who is your hero, anybody who inspires you, look up their life story and you will realize how many mistakes they made before they achieved. I mean, today, world's top best 5 companies in terms of revenue, in terms of profits, in terms of value, everything. Just look up their story. They're mostly tech companies, by the way. Most of them have lived only in about last 20-25 years. They didn't even exist before that. And you will realize that all of them which are at the top now started with failures. And but the good thing was they never gave up. So important thing is that you don't give up. And that is what matters. So don't shy away. Don't worry about failures. Don't worry about what others will think, because your confidence is within yourself. Just work on that. Work on your confidence. Work on your self-belief. Okay? And if it doesn't go to plan, it's okay. That's fine. Everything is not supposed to go to plan. Because the problem is, why we worry about our failure is because we just can't accept when it doesn't go to plan. And as I said, if you just accept it, that it's okay if everything does not go to plan, you will not have any fear of a failure. Okay, so that's your mantra, Yogesh. Right, so guys, I will take one more question because I think I've overdone my time. So I hope United Group don't throw me out for this very soon. So before they do that, I think I'll just make this my last question, and this is from Himanshu. Himanshu wants to know, what would you do if you face lockdown in your career starting? Very interesting one. So seems like that's what you're feeling right now, Himanshu. I will just share a very small story. We were playing a game of Monopoly a few weeks ago, because now we have a lot of time. We're in lockdown. We had a lot of time. So to keep ourselves engaged, to keep ourselves occupied, we started playing a game of Monopoly. I'm sure Vyapar bhi bolte hain usko India mein, by the way. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with the rules of Monopoly, where everyone gets given a certain sum. Everybody starts on an equal note. So sabki jeb mein utne hi paise hote hain. And then the game begins. You roll a dice, you keep moving your pawns, and you reach different destinations. Some people go ahead of you, and in the end, there's one winner. I won't shame anyone because I'm talking about my own family. So it's me, my wife, and 2 daughters. Without telling who started and who won, let's say that out of 4 people, 3 rolled the dice and managed to begin. First one, unfortunately, rolled a dice which landed that person into jail. In a game of Monopoly, when you land in jail, what that means is now you forego your next 3 goes. So you have to just sit tight and wait. Which means now all the other 3 players have a head start over you, because they will keep playing while you sit tight for next 3 goes. As a result of which, this one person lost a lot of opportunities. They couldn't buy as many properties. They couldn't build as much a portfolio as the others did. But believe it or not, in the end, actually, the person who was sitting in jail could not roll the right dice to get out of it, actually was the winner. And this is a real story, by the way. I've just not made up while I'm talking. So That's what it is. Life is a long journey, Himanshu. Okay, so don't worry about the current lockdown. This is, by the way, this is not the first time the world is dealing with a global crisis like this. The world has seen a couple of world wars. There was a similar pandemic 100 years ago, by the way, called Spanish flu. The world's population was about 1.2 billion in those days. 39 million people died. So what we're going through right now is nothing even close to that. The world has seen a few recessions, a financial crisis back in 2008. People thought the world is going to come to an end. Okay, the world doesn't come to an end. What all of these kind of things do is that they actually level the playing field again. So actually, I would say you guys, the next generation who's actually dealing with this, are very, very fortunate. And let me explain why I say that. Because this current situation is going to level the field for everyone. Everything is going to drop down to rock bottom, which means more opportunities, which means a lot of new beginnings, which means everything has to be reset. Smallest to the biggest of the companies right now are just looking for that reset button. How do we begin again? Because no matter whether you're a 2-year-old or a 20-year-old organization, everybody has just lost their way. Everybody has lost their ground, their market share, their business. So this is the time to reset. And what better opportunity as a youngster to be when the whole world is being reset? So don't worry about starting a career. You've got all of you guys who are getting ready to start your career now. I think this is the best opportunity you will get, because competition will be at its lowest. Everybody will be looking to reset. Everybody needs fresh thoughts. 30, 40 years of experience is no good. All has gone down to drain. Zero. We need fresh ideas. We need fresh start. Where does that come from? Fresh ideas come from fresh minds. And my dear friend Himanshu, you are the fresh minds. Okay, so it's the greatest time of your life. Don't worry about lockdown. And guys, on that note, I think it's been brilliant talking. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I thoroughly enjoyed spending this time. It was lovely talking to you guys. Wish you all the very best. Good luck to all of you. Go dream big. Don't worry about anything. Finally, स्वस्थ रहें, व्यस्त रहें और मस्त रहें. Thank you so much, guys.